Guys, if you're joining us as a guest for the first time, my name's Steve Grant. I'm a fitness studio owner myself in Sydney. My current gym's been there just under 5 years. It's called Rush Cutters Health. We have 12 staff, and what do we do? Just over 120 grand a month in direct debit billing. And I share that because I think it's important to be a participant, not just a what would you say, sharing ideas around fitness and that, but I'm obviously in there like you guys, getting the hands dirty and with marketing and branding and hiring staff and all that type of stuff. And really excited every month to do this session. It's called an Accelerate session. So this is where we actually invite a fitness brand, and we're interested in asking a bunch of questions to find out what's working well for them, what things haven't worked so well, and I guess just trying to give back to the fitness community. Today's guest speaker, if I say it correctly, is it Angharad?
Yeah, that's correct.
From Infinite Cycle. Tell us a little bit about Infinite Cycle for those that haven't experienced the brand or maybe trained at one of your studios.
Sure. So we're an indoor cycling studio. We are franchised. We have studios. We've got 6 studios at the moment, 4 in New South Wales, 1 in Canberra, and 1 in Melbourne. And I guess our biggest point of difference is the technology-driven cycling. So our bikes not only tilt from side to side, but all of the classes are run around metrics. So there's live stats and data that are given out during the 45-minute sessions. And we are very much sort of a self-led via stats cycling studio.
Yeah, I really like it. You just pointed to some of those sort of points of difference. So on your website, it says responsive bikes, digitally enhanced and data driven. So the bikes, when I'm watching like a video of the actual session, it looks like there's actually a fair bit of movement. What type of bikes are you using, or what have you chosen to use to deck out the brand?
So the bikes are called Real Riders.
Yep.
And we own the distribution rights to them in Australia and New Zealand.
Right.
And I guess as the name says on the tin or on the bike, they are bikes that are supposed to emulate as much as they possibly can riding in real life. So the Real Riders tilt from side to side, which means that you get a lot more of a realistic bike riding experience as opposed to those sort of fixed stationary bikes.
Sure. And it's obviously like quite the workout. You I'm sure you've done plenty of classes yourself. What's your sort of brand title for Infinite Cycle? How do you sort of involve yourself?
So I'm actually sort of two-pronged in my job role here. So I'm head of brand and communications for the business, but I'm also a master instructor. So I go out to all of our studios and I actually train our instructors to teach the classes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that side of it is very different from the brand side, I guess, but it's really rewarding to sort of build our team up as one cohesive unit.
Sure.
And we feel the best way to do that is by having sort of a singular head trainer who gets to tell everyone what to do.
I've done like Orange Theory before, and I love when my heart rate's up on screen and it sort of shows how I'm going compared to other people in the class. I'm a natural competitor. Is it fair to assume that digitally enhanced part, I can sort of track how I'm sort of going in your class as well?
Yeah, it's great for competitive people. I think that's what lured me in at the beginning as well.
Yep.
So they are up on the screens in real time. You do have a heart rate monitor as well. So we work within heart rate zones, which is quite similar to Orange Theory. We work to an exertion level or your heart rate zones if you know them and you have a tracker.
Yes.
The great thing is as well is that you get all of the stats straight to your app after the class, so you can actually track your own progress that way. So from one thing that I really like to do with our newer members is get them to screenshot their first class
Mm.
and then talk to them about it in a month or 2 months down the line, because
Yeah,
you can
wow.
actually see minute by minute where so a lot, typically in their first few classes, you'll obviously see people take all the resistance off
Sure.
in the recovery periods, or not sort of keep their pace consistent for the 45 minutes. And so once they've been coming a bit longer and they obviously are getting fitter and used to cycling for the 45 minutes, you see those numbers sort of boost up, which is also a really good retention technique.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like 95% of gyms are very body composition focused. So I do love a brand that actually shows progress and it encourages more of like a fitness aspect or other data. Tell me, how do you think being a head instructor yourself, being on the bikes, leading classes, how do you feel like that's maybe important or plays a role as head of brand and communication?
So I think the people are what sell a business. I think you can have, I mean, I obviously am biased. I think that our brand and our bikes and our technology are second to none. I think they are all wonderful things, but I just don't think that the business would sell if we didn't have superstar instructors. And I do think that having someone at the front of the room who also takes time to build those relationships and encourage people who are paying to be there is super important for us. And I know that a lot of our studios whose instructors are really invested in the business and really sort of find this is their passion. A lot of the people that we find are the most passionate are actually the ones who have instructor roles as a side hustle rather than
Yeah,
a
wow.
full-time business,
Okay.
because it's a real, like, they are making time out of their normal day-to-day life to come and still teach with us. So those people tend to be the ones that really build the community connection and help us grow our membership bases.
And I imagine it's kind of good to have a few staff that you can call on because they have their own style and their own sort of feel, and it probably adds a bit of variety for the riders as well.
Yeah, so the really good thing with us as well is that we have the 3 different types of classes. So 3 really different focuses that you can obviously sign up and come to those classes. And the benefit of that is within those 3, we probably have 3 or 4 instructors per studio that specialize in that discipline. So even if you're coming to the same style of class 4 times a week, if you're going to 4 different instructors, the actual class feels very different between the 4 different people.
Yeah, sure. And what again, for anyone sort of new to Infinite Cycle as a brand, do you charge like a weekly membership fee? Do you pay per class and for per bike you hire, or how does it work?
So yeah, we decided to go with all options. I do think that that's a good way of doing it. Obviously, our push is for direct debit, so weekly membership,
Sure.
which is just unlimited classes.
Okay.
So you can have a weekly membership, which is a home studio membership, or you can have a passport membership, which allows you to travel throughout all the different Infinite Cycles.
Yeah. No.
The other option is we have ride packs, which I think is fairly normal nowadays, especially within boutique fitness, to have those 10 ride, 20 ride, 30 ride packs. But we definitely push towards going for direct debits for obvious reasons.
Yeah, sure. It's where before COVID, I'd go to the States every year and ride a Soul Cycle and Peloton and all these types of brands. And I've seen people try and do cycle in Australia before. They get half a studio open and it sort of just fizzles out. But you guys have got, you said about 6, you've got more sites kind of coming. What do you feel like you've done differently or better than maybe a competition to be already at 6 with more sites?
Yeah, so we've got 6 at the moment and 6 opening early next year, which is really exciting. So our growth, especially within the last 2 years with all of the complications of COVID,
It's
has been
like most brands are shrinking by 6 in the last few months, not signing new sites. What do you think that's down to?
I do think that our brand message is really strong, and I think that anyone who is in the fitness industry really needs to pivot towards their why message rather than their what. I think everyone knows USPs, and most people are fairly competent in selling their USPs. And I don't know whether this is new information to anyone, but most fitness brands' USPs are the same.
Yeah.
Even in the fact that we're metric based, there are so many companies doing that nowadays. So you really have to think about what your why message is and the purpose and reason behind what you're doing. And I think if you communicate that effectively and in a strong manner, then people sign up for that. And on the other side of that as well, creating something new, and it is hard within fitness, there is so much that's already been done, but if you can either amalgamate 3 different concepts, or if you can see a gap in the market, and even it could just be down to the way that you lead your community or the like what you do within your studio directly. I think anything that has a strong why message and it stands out slightly is a really good way to keep going. And I think that's what we do pretty effectively at Infinite.
The branding's great. Like, it looks quite modern and trendy. But as you said, it's those kind of tangible things that are actually unique. I admire. I've been on your website. I observed you've got an ex-athlete, Alex Johnson, as a franchisee. Is that part of kind of your marketing strategy going forward? Do you see yourselves sort of looking for ex-athletes or whatever to take on franchises?
Yeah, Alex is there because his face is pretty. No, it's again having a very technology driven business and stats and data driven business. We do tend to lean towards people who have been in fitness before, whether it is from an athletics point of view or whether it's just been in the industry a long time. I think I'm sure everyone will agree, working in fitness, especially if you're going to be an owner operator, you have to love it quite a lot. And we find that ex-athletes or people in that industry already know sort of the graft of the 4 a.m. starts and the 8 p.m. finishes and the nap in the middle of the day. They're sort of more used to that kind of thing. But yeah, I think anyone can run a studio successfully. However, if you want it to be more than just a franchise own investment idea, then you have to really love it. And we do find that people who have been in the industry before tend to understand that a little bit more.
Yeah, okay. I'm on your website. I was looking at the different locations. What have you got? Armidale, Balgowlah, Bondi Junction, Canberra, Waterloo, Neutral Bay. I can see other ones like Crow's Nest, Five Dock, Brighton coming up. Is there sort of certain things you're looking for in a potential territory site for the brand?
I think territory-wise, as you said, so cycle is not as big over here in Australia as it is maybe in other parts of the world. We find that starting off, because the concept is so new, we've been around 4 years, but especially rhythm riding, which is one of the styles of classes that we have. Rhythm riding is very new to Australia. So I know that we've had Les Mills and RPM and sprint and things like that around for a long time, and people are well versed in what that is, but this is very different from that. And so we are at the moment, whilst we're still new and growing pretty quickly, our aim is to be in more centralized areas. So we're not looking necessarily out in the sticks just yet, but those sort of more high footfall traffic areas.
Sure. And I guess, I imagine most brands probably start with high population density sort of areas initially, and then it sort of opens up. A couple of quick fire questions around logistics. What's an example? Like I live in Collaroy. If I wanted to go to Neutral Bay, like roughly, what do I pay to be a member per week? Do you
So
know?
if it's Yeah, our memberships range depending on obviously that passport membership or the studio specific membership,
Yep.
but roughly between $40 and $50 a week.
Okay. And how big is a studio? Like what size are you renting? Commercial leases and things?
In terms of commercial leases, I don't know square footage, but I do
Okay.
know that we aim for around 20 to 25 bikes.
Uh-huh.
Um, and the Waterloo Green Square studio used to have pre-COVID 32 bikes.
Sure.
Obviously, that has been reduced for the last couple of years down to about 15 to 20. So,
Yeah. So, like realistically, I would visualize it's 150 squares or smaller, which is it's less than a lot of big commercial gyms might have to rent out. Yet you still charge a premium for weekly access, which is pretty cool as a model.
yeah, I think as with boutique fitness as well, that is the way that it's leaning. Is that sort of higher price point? Obviously it's a niche, but you're paying for the expertise of that niche, I guess, which is definitely how we sell the memberships at the studios, is that you're paying for people who solely do this. I mean, my 24/7 job is being a spin instructor as well as the brand side of it, so you're paying for people who are really knowledgeable in that specific area. And I think that even though the studios are slightly smaller or don't have as many different options of exercise equipment, you're getting the most out of it because the people are very like specific in their
Yeah.
field.
I think that's a really important point for everyone that's logged in on Zoom today or perhaps following us on Facebook. If you've got a 24-hour gym and group classes are included, your memberships might be $20 per week, and you've got some of your staff, they might take a yoga class, they might do a spin class, and it's probably unreasonable to expect that you can even sort of provide that boutique level of experience because everything is included in $20. At the same time, I think if you are a boutique and you are going to charge, $50 a week or more, you really have to understand that you have to play at that higher level. You can't be providing the same quality, the same type of like Les Mills class that someone gets for $20 a week, or they quickly go to the cheaper options. So yeah, I think that's a very important point to make because I can see a lot of 24-hour gyms seeing the growth in boutiques. I can see them all trying to add in their own version of it. But some are doing it well and some are doing it not so well. It obviously is a lot more involved than just like the timetabling and putting it on there. You mentioned before that people have often experienced like a spin class or something like that, but it's really different to rhythm riding. Do you find personally you're actually looking for someone that's not from a Les Mills style cycle background? Is that actually a hindrance on hiring, or is it something that's still useful for recruitment?
Um, oh, what's my answer here? Yeah, so I come from a rhythm background. That's all I've ever
Sure.
been trained in, and I was trained in the UK. I think that people who have been box gym instructors in spin, or that sort of Les Mills style of training, do find our bikes quite difficult because they
Sure.
move and it's a very different way of holding yourselves on those bikes.
Sure.
Then like your normal spin instructors really put a lot of weight onto their handlebars, and you
Sure.
definitely can't do that on our bikes.
Okay.
So in terms of, I think you have to recondition yourself to riding, but anyone who's worked in Group X before has so many other skills that are harder to
Transferable.
teach. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah, great.
they're comfortable in engaging a room. They're comfortable in speaking on a microphone, speaking clearly, knowing how to breathe and talk at the same time. Like all of those things that is great to have from people who have done it before. I do think that the bike sometimes can cause people problems.
Yeah. It was just a curious one. No, and look, I've always done spin classes. I ride a bike on the road myself, and I love the variation in the two styles. But they just have it's almost like a completely different sport, or a different. Yeah, they're both spin technically, but they're so different. Yeah, I encourage anyone, if you're on the call and you haven't actually tried that sort of rhythm riding, to go and check it out. Guys, if you've just logged in, maybe late, I appreciate middle of the day. You might have been on the tools this morning. You've just logged in. We're doing what's called an Accelerate session. I'm your host, Steve Grant. I'm a gym owner myself, and I also admin for the Gym Owners Network. So we sort of have this enormous, cool network of like 1,600 gyms around the world. And one of the things that we love to do as part of my network is find great brands that are growing and thriving, even during tough times like this year with like lockdowns and COVID or whatever. Really honoured today to have Infinite Cycle sharing a little bit about their brand story and how they've sort of managed to not only have 6 sites, but 6 more on the cards to open sort of next year. Our guest speaker today is Angharad, who's brand and communication, or head of brand and communication for Infinite Cycle, but she also is on the bike, sort of cycling herself every week. So really, really honoured to have you on. Guys, if you're following along, I would love to know if there's any questions you have. Now that you've sort of understood a little bit more about, how the brand works around pricing, the number of people in a session, the types of like rhythm riding that they provide. Do you have any questions about the brand? Go into the chat for me. That includes you guys. If you've logged in on Facebook, let me know if you do have any questions. We'll give our guest a second to catch a breath and have a little breather, and then we'll dive back in there. Shine, if you can just prompt everyone in the chat just to post questions in there and let me know as they sort of come up. So some other questions I sort of planned prior. What tips can you give someone building a new or relatively new brand? So you guys have sort of come in with a brand new concept and brand, and that's obviously has its benefits, but also its kind of challenges. Any sort of recommendations or suggestions on someone that's looking to do something similar?
I think looping back to what I mentioned earlier, in terms of what your message is a really strong place to start. Like I said, and that it's not meant in a discriminatory way at all. But I do think a lot of fitness studios have the same message a lot of the time, which
Yes.
is our what or how. So how we will help you get those results, or what you are looking to do. And I think by starting it going down that very popular marketing route, I guess at the moment, which is the why concept and what your message is there, is a really good place to start, and why you are doing it, what it is that started your business. I think we've definitely found that franchisees and also the co-founders of the business, the more involved those people are in the in studio stuff on the floor doing it, a lot more the fact that the members will resonate with that, and it helps keep people, and it also helps people spread the word about you a lot more. If you've got owner operators who are there every day, like Alex from the Melbourne studio, like he is in that studio day in, day out,
Sure.
speaking to people, getting their bikes set up, and I think that is such a good message to have. And that he came back from injury, and he talks about it all the time, and the fact that cycling helped him with his multiple knee issues that he had whilst he was in the AFL. So having that reasoning behind why you're doing it and what made you come into the space is a really good place to start with new brands.
I think all of us have watched the Simon Sinek sort of YouTube video, and it's been around for forever. But it's just so easy to skip it, and you skip over it. So you understand the concept, But then as soon as someone calls up today and says, how does it work and what does it cost? We start talking about what we do. We start talking about, well, we deliver 40 classes per week and it's $55 a week, and it's all the logistics stuff and very little about the why. So guys, I really encourage you to write these questions down and actually go away from today's call and take time to answer these. So one of them is, what is your brand story, or what is your origin story? I used to share this a lot in my first gym, where I was a PE teacher. I used to do like Oz swim for kids over summer. And I remember kids like all jumping in the pool, and like majority of the kids were overweight. And I was thinking, how is so many kids overweight at the moment? It sort of just baffled me. And at the time I was looking at being like a PE teacher. So I was going to uni for PE teaching. And then I saw all these kids overweight, and I thought, it's not the kids that actually need to learn the food, it's the parents that are packing all their lunches. So I went and opened a fitness studio. I wanted to make it so it was nutrition based, not just exercise, and watch people have some choice over the weight range they're in, and whether they, whether they can lead a healthy lifestyle. So for me, that was my motivation. And it was fascinating to me how many people actually connected with that story. They actually wanted something good for their kids that maybe they didn't have the choice on. So I really encourage you to think about your brand story, why you started, why are you doing it? What is your brand story? There's a question there from, who was it? Tim in WA. Interested to find out about your why. Can you share an example of one of those kind of whys for Infinite Cycle?
Yeah, sure. So we've got two co-founders of the business. Both have been in fitness for lots of years. One of them owns quite a few gyms, and the other one is very much on the technology side of the fitness industry. And I think marrying those two meetings of minds together and having something that is accessible to everyone. I know that our price points are higher, but our biggest driving force, our reason why that we do what we do is getting anyone of any ability into moving their body in a positive way.
Sure.
So obviously cycling is known as something that is very low impact on your joints. However, you can still create that higher intensity workout in a cycle class. So the outside, and we really do like dive deep into this, and obviously it's what I do for the majority of my week, but it's from the design of the studios to how we greet people, where things are placed. It is all built around the why message of creating a community for people who are new to fitness or coming back from injury or slightly older. We're not going for the sort of six-packed black and white sweaty photos. We're very much a community for everyone, and especially if you are in the early stages of your fitness journey, that it's just encouraging you to move yourself in a positive way. So the outside lobby area of all of our studios are white and bright. We encourage site locations that have a lot of natural daylight. There's always a reception desk as soon as you walk in. The shoes and towels are handed to you. Your instructor helps you set up your bike. And then within the actual studio, it's a dark space. So again, there's no worry of anyone watching you. You can book your bike. So you can book the exact bike you would like to sit on. That's all done on the app. So if you are someone who would prefer to sit in the back bar corner, then you're more than welcome to. So we're built around that inclusivity and moving yourself in whichever way feels best for you, which is why we also work to exertion level rather than actual like a wattage percentage or a percentage of your body weight or anything. We give the ability to be able to track that, but we don't actually program our classes around that.
I love it. I've just been scribbling down some of that language. I can see how much time and thought you put into it. We obviously are just scratching the surface, but it's I think like words I just wrote down there, anyone of any ability, people new to fitness coming back from injury, a community for everyone, exercising in a positive way. It seems logical, but when I think about a lot of fitness experiences, I've got 3 gym memberships at the moment, and I own a gym. And they're all pretty different, but I tell you, there's none of them that probably fit under any of those. Whether we do it on purpose or it's happening sort of subconsciously by our marketing, I think we sort of skip past the reasoning and the meaning behind why we do what we do, and we quickly just try and yell over the top of each other on Instagram. We try and give away free stuff. We try and spend more on Facebook, and I can see with a little bit more thought into your branding and why you're actually doing it, how that would really assist in your marketing message getting cut through. So well done.
Thank you. I think on that as well, the important thing that we've learned is people who enjoy fitness or are wanting to seek out a way of working out, they don't need your marketing. They're already sold, you know? Like if you want to find a cycle studio, you'll find one. I
Sure.
moved here, I found 10. Like if you want to find a gym, you'll find one. Those aren't necessarily the people. They're going to go for location or price.
Yes.
So if you're going to offer the best for those 2 prongs, then yeah, you will get that member. But it's the other people that we should be targeting. It's the people who are on the fence or new or nervous or apprehensive about starting their fitness journey. And if you can get those people, if you can explain to them why you will help them better than anyone else, then
Sure.
those are the people that also will build loyalty to your brand.
Yeah, it's so good. I love the examples you give. Like there's someone like Alex, who's incredible athlete, can use it. Let's say he loves CrossFit, but he can't do CrossFit because he's injured his knee. It gives him an alternative. It gives him a couple of options of things he can be doing. I don't know what the data is in Australia anymore, but I remember reading at some point years ago that 14% of Australians had a gym membership, and the rest were non-gym goers. And it fascinates me how so many of us are sort of playing in the same space. We're all competing for the same 35-year-old female to come and exercise and train in our gym. But there's so many of that kind of other, I'm guessing it's still pretty similar in every country. Approximately 80 to 85% of people are not marketed to, are not catered for. And it's that kind of blue ocean strategy where it's probably the least competitive as well, if we can actually tap into them. So it's yeah, pretty exciting. I love what the direction you're taking with the brand.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it is, everyone is marketing to the same people, and that is why we're all shouting over each other on the Instagram ads.
Yeah, and that's an expensive
It,
exercise.
it
Peter
is.
says in the chat, how is variety built into the writing experience on a weekly, monthly basis? Do you sort of periodize workouts, or is there music variation? Like what adds variety?
So yeah, a lot of things, which I also, it's really exciting to work for a business which is very specific, obviously, to the cycle niche. However, the variety of the classes that we bring is, I think, incredible, considering we're doing it on one piece of equipment. So we have the 3 styles of classes. There's also a 4th, but that's an express class, so it's just a condensed version of the other 3.
Sure.
But we've got infinite cycle rhythm, so that's ICR, which is the full body workout. So again, it's been designed in a way that there are push-ups on the bikes, there are tricep dips, there are rows, bent over rows, those kind of things. We're really trying to, again, push the boundaries of what you can do on a bicycle.
Sure.
Then you've got ICP, so that's more of our virtual bike ride. So it's a lot more interval style training, where you have hill climb, recover, sprint, recover, that kind of thing. And then we've got ICE, which is our endurance based class. So that one is has a 10-minute distance challenge at the end. Sometimes, again, depending on the programming, that is split to a 3-minute at the beginning, a 7-minute at the end. Sometimes there's an FTP test in there as well. So it's really much geared towards the endurance style training. So we have those 3 different types of class, and then within those we have releases that come out once a month, which is different programming, different music. And then the ICR class is the instructor actually makes their own class. So they submit their class structure to head office, and then we approve that we're happy for them to use that music, use those moves, and then they go off and teach it. So those ones probably have the most variety, I'd say. The other 2 are within a program, within a structured program that we've created, but we do have multiple releases.
Yeah, I love it. What it sounds like a manager would play a pretty important role, like in any fitness business. Is there a certain type of method or person you're looking for in finding the right humans to lead these studios?
Oh yeah, in an ideal world, recruit within. So I definitely find people who are ex-members, instructors who want to make this more of a full-time gig. They are the best people because they know the brand, and they believe in the brand. I think that anyone who has been a member or has bought into your brand literally is someone who is really good to work for you, because they've already given you money because they believe in what you're doing. So for them to then relay that same message to other people, it works really well. And then, yeah, I guess the boring stuff is that you want someone who's happy to sell. I think people shy away from selling. I think that selling is a real taboo, like bad, dirty subject, but you've got to have people that can sell. And if they don't know how to sell, you've got to teach them how to do it. And again, I guess the way that I do that is, as I'm sure you've probably found out in the last half hour of us speaking, is really relaying the why message of what we're trying to sell and why we're trying to sell it.
Yeah.
Because I think that makes people who are more nervous in that sales domain more comfortable if they know that they are selling a solution to something, rather than just trying to push on KPIs and stuff.
Is there like a set, because you've got franchises, is there a set sort of amount of training or a set sort of process you take salespeople through or managers through for each studio?
Yeah, so we are pretty hands-on with that, which I think is quite unusual with a head office of a franchise, or we try and be anyway. So when the studios open, I actually go to the studio for a week before they open and their first week of being open. So that sort of falls under my role. And then in that time, we do train the instructors, and we also train the front of house staff and the managers. There are then also optional weekly sales calls for the managers and the franchisees with our head of sales in the head office. So he will have weekly sales calls with them on a Thursday morning where they can jump in if they have any questions. So we have a pretty structured approach to it in terms of who relays to who and where things escalate up to. We find that obviously having a really good process there helps with the chain of command and who needs to speak to who about what. But yeah, we do help with the training. We obviously don't want to micromanage franchisees. And as we expand, we also know that that's not realistic if we are too hands-on. So by having these optional half-hour weekly calls, we feel like it gives people the opportunity to speak to head office as a manager rather than just as a franchise owner, which gives them a lot of power as well. And I think the more power and ownership you can give people over their role, the more likely they are to do a better job.
For new studios, you said you've got like 6 that are due to open at the start of next year. Do you have a preferred model or length of time to do pre-sales and try and get people, set up on memberships before the rent starts or the, before the doors open?
Yeah, we do. So we really start that process 3 months before their penciled in opening date. And I'm sure anyone who's opened a gym of any sort knows that that date changes frequently. So we try and get them up to a break even by the time of opening. Oh, sorry, by the time their rent kicks in. So normally there's negotiated rent, obviously, for the first few months or however long you can get that for. And our aim is to help and support them with a pre-sale that will get them to break even by the time that they kick in with rent.
So good. I love it. And I know a lot of comparable models wouldn't hit break even for 9 months or 12 months or something like that. What about, I'm on your website, I'll quickly share. I can see in terms of like an on-ramp, you do like a paid trial, so $39 for 2 weeks. What do you feel like? There's obviously lots of gyms doing free things. Why do you prefer to do a paid trial?
Because I hate free things.
Okay.
No, I think it dilutes your brand message. I really do. I think offering things for free makes less of a commitment. People, obviously, it's slightly different again with, I think it works with gyms or box gyms. However, when we have a certain amount of bikes in a class, we only have 20 spots to sell per class, you know?
Sure.
And so if you're offering free classes and those people don't turn up and you've got no bank details and no commitment from them, then it doesn't help having a half empty class with 5 people paying, you know, it's not going to send the right message. And also because we are at that higher price point, we are in the 40s to 50s on a weekly membership, trying to get someone to jump up from doing 2 free classes to paying $40 a week is it's a much harder sell than doing 2 weeks at half price, essentially,
Sure.
which is the 39. And then they've seen the value. They also get that longer trial period. It's unlimited, which is the same model as our membership. So therefore, we get them in, we encourage them to come 3 times a week. We then show them how much that works out on a membership. They've had a great time whilst they've been there. And the sell to a full paying membership's a lot easier.
Because you're getting them to trial the level of service that you want them to buy. And
Exactly.
it's funny how many gyms I see that, you know, by giving free, you're actually making it very difficult for someone to come up with the money, or they give them like 1 session a week as a trial. Of course, they're not going to buy unlimited when it comes time to sort of making a buying decision. So it seems like a very streamlined sales process. I'm the same. I like doing paid trials, and I can definitely see the not only the benefit to you because you don't have like empty seats or seats being taken that members could have been using, but you've also I think there's a level of pre-qualification, which means that they're more likely to actually spend that, you know, $50 a week going forward.
Yeah, and on that, it's not, I don't say that we never do free things. I think if you can market it in a way that there's a purpose for that free trial. So we hold fitness weeks, and we also have like 6-week challenges and things like that.
Okay.
And normally in our fitness week, we, again, going back to that brand message, because we are for everyone, once or twice a year, we do a fitness week where we open our doors completely free of charge for that whole week. So again, that's down to people that can't necessarily afford to work out or that haven't got the funds at the moment to work out. Then we are providing fitness for free for a week, twice a year. So it's still very much tied into our brand message. And I think in that way, it really does add value to your brand rather than reducing your brand.
Do you like over the last couple of years, did you say 4 years you've been open as a brand? 4 years.
Yes.
What have you
4
found?
years this month.
Oh, very good. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
It's 4 years with a couple of years of COVID. So that's, I think, scarred most of us, but you guys are doing really well. What would you say has been one of the most successful like lead generation strategies? We obviously looked at one of your current campaigns with 2 weeks sort of paid trial. Is there anything else that's kind of stood out? Maybe you did it last year or way back when you sort of started that worked really well?
So yeah, one of our most successful campaigns year on year is our Bring a Friend for Free.
Yeah.
So we usually do that around Valentine's Day for obvious reasons. Marketing works well.
Yep.
And also to celebrate Pride Month and things like that. It just ties into this like bring a friend, everything's better with someone by your side kind of message. And I will always stand by referrals as the strongest form of lead gen that any business can get, and rewarding the person that referred them in probably a monetary way, unless you've got merch or something you can give out, but like a $5 voucher, a $10 voucher, because they're more likely to do it again if they got something out of it. So they will then bring 10 friends rather than just one.
And the $10 voucher, if I refer a friend, is that to be used sort of in store on, food or clothing or something? What can I use that for?
So you can actually get it taken off your weekly membership. So you
Oh,
can put $10 off your next week,
okay.
or you can use it to buy socks, water bottles, jumpers, protein bars, protein shakes, anything like that. You can use it at anything you can buy from Infinite Cycle. The voucher code will give you the $10 discount.
Yeah, it's good. I was sniffing around because I see the apparel. I see people sort of getting around in it. Are you sort of giving that out when they sign up? Are they, most people that have got it, are they buying that? How are you getting them to wear it?
So the pre-sale we give it out. So
Yep.
anyone that signs up on the pre-sale, you get a new member starter pack, which is a tote bag, a water bottle, and a hat.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is either purchased. So we have all of the studios have little clothing racks in them, which have all of our merch on. And the other thing that we think is really good, which works well, is we have special merch for milestone rides. So when you hit your 100 rides, you get like a towel that welcomes you to the 100th club. Then when you hit 250, you get your own personalized water bottle. And yeah, and then it goes up, you get a hoodie, lots of things. So that's a really, again, another like value add to their membership.
I love that sort of recognition stuff. I feel like there's a certain level of effort and discipline that's gone with doing 100 rides. And I love, I've always acknowledged members like on an anniversary, like you've been there a year, but to me, it actually seems more genuine and probably more relevant to acknowledge what they've done in that time, like 100 rides or 200 rides. And yeah, it's they're kind of walking billboards. They're giving out the bottle and the hat. There's obviously someone's got to write the check for that. There's a cost associated with it, but it's incredible brand awareness, and it's walking billboards. There's I'm trying to think. Was it one in Bondi Junction? I walked past on Friday, and cool little singlets and stuff of people getting around. That's kind of cool. Like without even your staff getting out, handing out flyers, people keep seeing the reminder walk past all the time in singlets, and that's very good.
Builds brand trust as well.
Yeah,
So
okay. Because
you see a lot of people wearing a certain brand, you automatically think that it's probably a trustworthy brand. So having free advertising and people wearing stuff is a really good, a really powerful marketing technique.
Yeah, I really like it. It's something
Which
I've
is
got to
why
do
I give it
for
out all
my
the
gym.
time.
Yeah, okay.
My partner is top to toe in Infinite all the time, and as any gym he goes to, I'm like, put an Infinite Cycle top on.
There's no choice. You must walk out the door in this and
Yeah,
and look
exactly.
the part.
Yeah.
Very good. Hey guys, if you have any other questions before we say farewell for the day, please pop it into the chat. While you're thinking of your last questions, I have one very last one, and it's a little bit esoteric, but what's one thing you know now that you wish you knew earlier? So you've been part of like looking for great stuff. You've been part of the brand story. You've been part of rolling out 6 studios. Is there anything that sort of feels like a good learning that maybe you had to pick up along the way and might save some of our listeners the same heartache?
Yeah, so I think first point of contact, which sounds silly, and I'll expand on it slightly. We, I think the second someone walks into your facility, you've got to remember you're not just potentially selling them a membership, especially for us as a franchised business. A lot of our franchisees are ex-members or have family or friends who have been ex-members, and that's actually how they've heard of us. And I think that the reason that we have become successful, and the reason a lot of our instructors are ex-members and things like that, is because that first point of contact, they are welcomed, they are informed, and they are engaged from the second they walk into the business. And I don't think I realized quite how important that was until I started seeing how well it works when you do it by accident. And now it's something that we really preach to everyone that works in the business, that the second anyone walks into an infinite cycle, we are on the sell, but in a really encouraging and friendly way, because it can really pay off down the track.
Yeah, I think there's almost like, if I compare you to some other brands, I feel like they're sort of treated like prospects or opportunities. And then you get to a point where you become a member, and then we welcome you to the family and we put our arms around you and look after you. And I think, if we can just get to that part earlier, if we can actually treat them like family from the moment we meet, make them feel supported, make them feel like encouraged and like safe. Like it's obviously a pretty judgy sort of space, the fitness industry, and a lot of people that don't walk into a Fitness First or some of those sort of big box gyms are probably daunted. They're probably, put off and haven't felt like the courage to actually go and do it. And I like that, although you refer to it as sales, it does feel like it is very service based, and it is very caring, your sales process. So, encourage everyone to sort of, use that as a bit of a takeaway as well, is to get to that, share the member experience earlier.
Yeah, and if you have the capacity to do it, phone people as soon as that lead drops into your system, whatever system it is, because that's how you make them feel like they're a member straight off the bat. Hi, Sophie, it's so and so calling from here. Like, why did you drop your details in? What is it that you're looking for? And just asking them straight away, and then feeling like they're being helped. Great, I'll see you, or know who your manager is on that night, and say, oh, Joe will see you then, 6 p.m. We're really looking forward to welcoming you. They already feel a connection from that initial phone call.
Yeah, it's like you and I know what the steps are, but often they don't, particularly if you're working with the deconditioned or people that aren't, confident to go to other gyms. So they probably put their details down, and then they sit there going, all right, well, what's going to happen next? So it's probably quite comforting for someone just to walk them through the process and tell them, when you come in for your first visit, this is what you can expect, and I'll meet you at the door. And I really like that's part of the service. Really good.
Yeah.
Hey, I thank you so much for your time. I can see there's some great feedback in the chat there. Peter said, invaluable, especially the message around the why in our gym. He's had to dart off, but yeah, I want to thank you. Such a really inspiring brand, because it's quite innovative, because it's sort of daring to go outside of that sort of standard, this is what we do, and focus a little bit more around your brand message. So I appreciate the transparency and what's really working well for you guys. And I encourage you all the very best, or I wish you all the very best of success next year, launching the next 6 studios.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your time. It's been really great chatting.
You're a champion. I love that you're on the bike and you're also doing the branding message. I feel like there's some sort of disconnect often where one person does it and the other one does the other thing. So it's I can see how cohesion actually makes a difference for your brand. So thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to send you a little thank you hamper today as a little gift from us. And I encourage you to join our Accelerate sessions on a monthly basis if it's useful for you guys, just to see what else is working in the fitness industry.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to do that.
You're a champion. Have a safe Christmas as well.
You too. Merry Christmas.
See you soon. Thank you.